All right, well, welcome to our workshop called Creative Caring. My name is Joni Vonkeman. I am an art therapist here in the province of British Columbia, and I've been working alongside my colleague here, Marjorie Moulton, for a few years with clients that have Alzheimer's or dementia in a program called Arts Alzheimer's. And it was very successful, the program that we ran, and we've been teaming up together to present to you the things that worked well in our program, and hopefully you can take away some good nuggets of things that we have learned to use in your own caregiving. So to start with, you would have received a handout, and there are two pictures to choose from. There is this one, or this one. And you can choose one of those to color, and we're just gonna start off by taking a few minutes to color.
Yeah, so lighthouse, house, or ship, right?
Yeah, so take your pick.
Okay.
We're gonna do some coloring together. So this is the part where it's gonna get really quiet, I think.
It is the part where it usually gets really quiet, right?
Yeah.
That's what we've always experienced with people, is as they begin to focus on the creative work that they're doing, everything else tends to fade.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing. That's what you're looking for, really, right?
Yeah. Silence doesn't have to always be awkward.
No, in fact, it can actually be a good thing. Be a good thing. It means that the people you're working with are engaged in what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That often has a bit of a soothing kind of effect. And you can paint or color with this. Is that right, Joni?
Yeah.
So whatever materials you sort of have on hand, no need to purchase or acquire anything special, just...
Yeah, exactly. There's no rights or wrongs with this. You could even just do shading with a pencil if that's all you have.
Yeah, that's true, actually. That's true. I was playing around with some charcoal pencil the other day. That's another really sort of interesting thing with charcoal pencil and a smudger and stuff. So, but even just a regular pencil, right? That would work too, probably.
Yeah, you can get different shades of darkness and lightness with just a regular old pencil. I've even seen some amazing artwork made with ballpoint pen. Can't say that I have the skills for that, but there are people out there that can do amazing artwork just with ballpoint pens.
Yeah, well, there are some very talented people out there for sure, and I know that we have certainly seen some of that talent within our program, right? Some of our dementia clientele have been very talented, very creative. Yeah, it's quite interesting to see what comes out.
Yeah.
And I'm using these chalk colors, which I quite like. So I like the smudging aspect of it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they're probably very similar to the charcoal that you.
Yeah, I think I have a penchant for smudging. I'm not sure why, but just maybe because when you smudge it and blur the lines, it is more forgiving.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a tactile element to that.
Well, there's that too, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because it's messier too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Sometimes
some people
messy
really
can be
like
fun.
that. Some people like to get messy with their art.
Yeah, this is where it's important sort of to have the paints and things, or if you're going to use that sort of thing, that are washable, right?
Yeah.
It's safer and easier to use.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And that wipes off of the fingers easily.
Yeah, and also out of clothing too, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
invariably people will get something on themselves. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, myself included. I do that too. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I have certain clothes that I only wear when I'm using paint that doesn't come out. So
Yeah, well, which is wise, I think, because otherwise. You could end up wrecking a lot of clothes, couldn't you?
yeah. So maybe like 2 more minutes.
Sure, whatever you think here. I'll just carry on. I have a wooden surface here at my desk, so it gives it sort of an interesting texture.
Are you picking up some of the wood grain?
Yeah, just a little bit. It gives it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Sort of interesting. So again, it just goes to show it doesn't really matter, right? Like we're just going with the flow, being in the moment, working with what we've got available to us.
Yeah.
Not getting too hung up on anything in particular.
Right. There are no rules. All right. That's our 2 minutes. So if you're not done, I'm going to play bad cop and say, please put your crayons down or whatever, or your chalk pastels down.
Yeah, whatever you're using, right?
We will carry on.
Tools down, tools down. All right.
Resist the urge to keep working on it.
Right, which is hard to do, isn't it? Because you think, oh, I was going to use that there. I was going to put that color. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can always return to it after when I'm not looking, but.
Or after we're finished the
Right.
workshop, right? Later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So while we were working, we had this nice slide up that says, oh, for a life of sensations rather than of thoughts. So just something to keep in the back of the mind while you're working on your art. The sensations that come while making art, and the importance of having that experience of making art. So I'm going to jump on to the next slide.
All right.
Ask, what happened while you were coloring? And the first point I'm going to make is about fine motor skills, muscle memory, and visual acuity. So while you were coloring, I am assuming that your hand automatically knew how to pick up the chalk pastel and put it on the paper. And in doing that, you're using your fine motor skills and your muscle memory. And to know where to put the colors and follow the lines uses your visual acuity. Also, choosing colors uses your visual acuity. Identifying colors, coloring in the lines, yes, spatial awareness, right, about where to put that on the paper. And all of these things that make us practice the fine motor skills, muscle memory, and visual acuity. When it comes to working with people that have dementia, what we're looking for is slowing down their decline. So if they're using their fine motor skills to make art, we're hoping that it will transfer and that it will slow the decline in their ability to perhaps button up their shirt or zip up their jacket, tie up shoelaces, all of those kinds of things. Because what we're wanting for them is for them to maintain their own ability and feel like they can accomplish things themselves, right?
Exactly.
Second point, social interaction. So while we were coloring, you'll have noticed that Marjorie and I were just casually chatting with each other, and doing art with other people naturally invites this to happen. And this is an important thing because as humans, we are social beings by nature, and we depend on each other. It's essential to our survival and well-being. And being sociable with each other will foster a sense of belonging and purpose and value, and it also help to boost our self-esteem and contribute to have our own good mental health. So just a feeling of belonging is an important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody needs a tribe, right?
Exactly. We didn't really do this while we were chatting, but while you were coloring, Marjorie, did you recall any memories? I know, like, both of these pictures are nautical themed, so
Right.
anything about the seaside or anything like that, did that come up for you?
Well, it does actually, and even though I chose the sailboat, and even though I'm not a sailor, I've spent a lot of time on the ocean, and I love to travel. I've done a lot of cruising, and I guess for me that sort of embodies that experience and the good memories that came with that, and all the different places I've had the privilege and pleasure to visit, and all of the various oceans that I've found myself on over the years and things like that. So it brings up a lot of really positive, happy memories.
Nice. Yeah, it brought up travel for me as well. I chose to do the lighthouse, and it reminded me of Peggy's Cove out in Nova Scotia. That reminded me of a family trip that we did a couple of years ago to see the other side of Canada, and I remember that my parents just enjoyed it just so much. So it brings up positive memories for me. And the whole point of me bringing this up as a point in the PowerPoint, recalling memories and having reminiscence, is that it kind of points to something called reminiscence therapy, which uses a person's life history to improve psychological well-being. And this can be used to combat depression and maintain good mental health. So bringing up memories is good for our mental health. And
especially positive ones, right?
Especially positive ones, yeah. And when we do this in a calm and positive manner, what we are doing often is bringing up memories from a period of time of between ages 10 to 30, which is when our strongest memories are formed. Okay, my next point also refers to memories and making positive new memories. So, will you remember coloring this picture?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I might not remember coloring this exact picture, but I think the overall experience of doing this work together in the way in which we've been doing it lately through this online medium is certainly something that will be more likely to be retained by myself.
Yeah, and that's my next question is, will you remember this experience? And the chances are that we will remember this experience more highly than the actual picture itself because of, the emotions and the, other things that are going into this whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. So it points to emotional memory, which refers to how an object, event, person, or a place, how those things can make us feel. Leans on our emotional responses to the things that are in our environment. So as an example of emotional memory, I will often bring up a memory that I have when I was a student working in retail. I would see regular customers come into the store, and sometimes I would have a gut reaction to a customer, either negative or positive. I would see their face and either my stomach would sink or I'd feel happy to see them. And I wouldn't remember their name or what had happened in our last interaction together. I would just have that gut feeling, right? And it wasn't until after they left the store that I would remember how our last interaction had gone. And so for me, that's an example of emotional memory in my own life.
Exactly. And for people with dementia, this is often all they can pull from, right? Is that emotional memory. So they're having an emotional response to, like you said, a person, place, object. But the context is not necessarily there for them. So it's important to be cognizant of that as carers.
Yeah, exactly. We think that people with dementia are incapable of forming new memories and relationships, but for both of us, we have found that that's not the case. People will come into our program not knowing us before they had a diagnosis, but they'll come into the program on a weekly basis and see our faces, and then they will just light up because they will recognize us. And not because they recognize our name or what we're about to do, but because they know they've had a positive interaction with us before.
Exactly. And that's what we're ultimately trying to cultivate as well, right? Mm-hmm. Is that positive emotional memory in the person with the dementia or the Alzheimer's.
Yeah, exactly. Next point is self-expression. So I'm going to do a little show and tell. This is my art. As I pointed out earlier, it's the lighthouse picture. We've got some, at Peggy's Cove, the rocks are quite brown looking, so I've got my brown rocks. And I think, Marjorie, that yours is different from mine, right?
It is different. Mm-hmm. I chose the sailing ship, mm-hmm. And I sort of, and you can see, obviously, I'm not finished, but because I didn't actually get to the boat itself, I was sort of a little bit more intrigued by trying to create some sunset types of colors.
Sunset going there.
Yeah.
Whereas mine has just a blue sky. It's just a nice blue sky kind of day.
We like that. Blue sky is good.
So from, comparing both of ours don't look alike. We didn't choose the same picture. And really each of us has presented our own self-expression just in a coloring page. It doesn't have to be something fancy for us to have self-expression, right? And art making like this is just an easy framework for self-expression, and it'll foster individual courage and self-assurance, and self-expression will show itself through our creativity and style, and gives us a feeling of freedom and independence from our neighbor in order to accomplish what we're hoping to accomplish with the art.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and really it just points to autonomy. So when a person with dementia, in their experience of that their world is shrinking in and people are starting to do more and more for them and they're losing their own autonomy, having the ability to be self-expressive can give them a little bit of that back.
Yeah, so important for all of us.
Mm-hmm. So when we're using the arts with dementia, these are the goals that we're after. Fine motor skills, muscle memories, and visual acuity, social interaction, recalling memories, making positive new memories, and self-expression. So even if we didn't finish the artwork, can we achieve any of these 5 goals? And I know this is a leading question, but you'll find that the answer is yes. We can achieve any one of these 5 goals. We can achieve even more than one of the 5 goals. But even if we've just achieved one, we've been successful.
Indeed.
I really like this quote from, or by Susanna Howard, from founder and artistic director of Living Words. I think she sums it up really well when she says, "Often people think of arts activity as an outcome. People want to know what the final artwork will be. I believe that focusing on outcome disrupts the process of creation, but by focusing on the process, the outcome will come naturally forward."
Which are those 5 goals, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, that's great.